Today we're going to take a little departure from the normal Miyazaki Ghibli films, and today we're going to look at The Tale of Princess Kaguya, which is actually by this guy named Isao Takahata, who actually was the director for the beloved and tear-jerking Grave of the Fireflies. So he was a director under Studio Ghibli at the time, and then basically, The Tale of Princess Kaguya, which was released in 2013, was his last film before he passed away in 2018. And so this was really a critically acclaimed film. It won a lot of awards. It was nominated for Best Animated Feature in 2015 or something. But yeah, and which is why we are going to look at it today. Right, so the most striking thing about The Tale of Princess Kaguya, I think it would be evident to anyone, it would be basically the art style. It looks like a traditional painting come to life. It looks like what you would see if you looked at an old ancient painting from Japan at that time. And everything is absolutely breathtaking. It is just a breathtakingly beautiful film. And I think just purely on that premise of the beauty of the animals, the grass, the rolling meadows and plains, and the beauty of how evident nature is in the place that Princess Kaguya grew up. This is already something that makes The Tale of Princess Kaguya really worth watching. It is a departure from the normal kind of animation that most people would consider cartoonish into something that really, really looks like art made into motion. Yes, but leaving that aside, let's look at the plot and the kind of themes that we see in The Tale of Princess Kaguya. So, The Tale of Princess Kaguya follows this girl who carries several names throughout her life through the different stages of her growing up and then getting to know the world around her. The Tale of Princess Kaguya proposes a path to happiness, and it gives us several different options. So right at the start, we have this very simple happiness of being with nature, of living simply, living off the land. And then we have this idea of being a noble princess, having people to wait on her, having a gorgeous mansion to live in. And we also have this idea of going back to the moon, of purity and flawlessness, and the departure from the sorrow that is associated with a mortal life. And through juxtaposing all of these three different paths to happiness, The Tale of Princess Kaguya tells us what exactly happiness is in this film. So right at the start, we see Kaguya being born, and the early part of her childhood is filled with nature. She has always been a girl that she's basically a very vibrant soul amongst the vibrancy of nature around her. So she's born in the bamboo grove, and the bamboo grove is absolutely breathtaking because of calligraphy, and she interacts with a lot of animals. She interacts with frogs, with insects, with pheasants, and she grows up in this very idyllic kind of simple life. And she is a girl that we see very clearly is carefree, she's wild, she just does whatever piques her fancy at that moment. We see this association with Kaguya's personal happiness as well as nature, this being around nature is further emphasized by the song that she sings over and over again, which in and of itself paints a picture of a natural, beautiful, idyllic landscape. So we have this first idea of very simple, idyllic happiness in the bamboo groves of her childhood, and all her friends and sort of boyfriend, yes. And then from them we move on to this with her father pushing for her identity as this noble princess. We see her lady in waiting, I suppose, telling her exactly how she should act and dress and behave in order to be a noble princess. And this is reinforced with Kaguya getting increasingly annoyed and frustrated by this role of having to be a noble princess. She tells her lady in waiting, I don't understand, why do I need to color my teeth black? Why do I need to shave off my eyebrows? Why do I need to wear makeup? Why do I need to dress and look a certain way? Kaguya bursts out. She says, no, like if being a princess means to never shout in anger, never throw your head back and laugh, never smile, never cry, then princesses are not human. And so being a noble princess in Kaguya's perspective basically means to reject your identity as a human, which means rejecting your emotions, rejecting what you truly desire, and then pushing for like conformity to a certain social standard of behavior and appearance. And more than that, it's not just a social standard of like beauty, but it's also this submission to the objectification of women. So as a noble princess, she's someone that is desired, coveted by many suitors and men that come around to her house and ask for her hand in marriage. And it is not her that they want, it is her as a possession. In particular, with the emperor saying, your happiness lies in being mine. And this is reinforced with her lady-in-waiting saying that there is no happiness greater than being married to a man of good stature. And her father says that there's no greater happiness for any girl in this land than to marry the emperor and to be his possession. Like the emperor literally says, he says, watashi no mono da, like my thing. Mono means thing. And so we have this very clear objectification associated with conformity to social standards of beauty. Keeping this in mind that like noble princess means to reject the emotions that make you a human by conforming to social standards and being objectified by men, we turn towards the other path to happiness that the tale of Princess Kaguya presents to us. And this is going back to the moon. We see her say that, it once you put on the robes of someone who belongs on the moon, you will remember nothing about your mortal life. When one of the servants tries to like put the robe onto her, they try and convince her and they say, leave behind the dirtiness and the sorrow that is associated with the mortal life. In this, we see that going back to like the moon land is basically a complete and utter rejection of anything to do with humanity. You are basically no longer human because you do not remember your mortal life, you do not remember what made you happy, what made you angry, what made you sad. And so we have these two parallel tracks of one, being a noble princess, of being human but completely rejecting that, but pretending that you do not have the emotions that make human life what it is. And then we have going back to the moon, which is basically a complete rejection of all human emotions in its entirety. And we see that both are bad. Why do we know it's bad? Because we know Kaguya and we have seen her growing up. We know that she is a carefree, wild girl that just wants to be happy with her friends amongst nature. And if her discomfort and her anger at being trapped in either of these two roles is not clear enough, at the end of both little arcs, we have her going back to nature, going back to her hometown to really try and recenter herself. So right after she becomes a noble princess and she goes to the event of her taking of name, and she hears the men say that she is just another object, not a real princess, she runs away, and she runs like the wind, like some kind of magic creature, and goes back to her hometown, to that little hut amongst the bamboo grove. And she talks to this man who tells her that even though the land around here is desolate now, the trees are just waiting for spring. The nature will come back, the happiness and the soul of the land will come back. And this is and you can see just from that Kaguya gains so much new hope just from what the charcoal maker said, because she has always been trapped in trying to be this noble princess and railing against that role. But now going back to nature, she has recentered herself and found a determination again. And then immediately after, we hear her find out hear her realize that that she belongs to the moon and that she's not supposed to be in the mortal plane. She goes back again to her hometown and she sees her sort of childhood friend / sort of boyfriend named Tsutema Oni-chan. They have this moment where they reconnect and then they say, we're gonna run away together, we're gonna start a new life, we're going to really enjoy the time that we have here on Earth. The thing about this is that we see her being happy once again, and that happiness in that moment of being at home, being with the people that she loved, is such a great juxtaposition to how sad she was about having to leave, that it is so clear to us that neither this track of being a noble princess nor this track of going back to the moon is something that will make her happy. She even says that, she says to Sudema Rani-chan, she says, I think that I could have been happy with you here in like the bamboo groves of our childhood home, because that part, that initial first third of the movie is exactly where she was happy. It was happiness presented to her even though she did not recognize it for what it was. And in the end, I would say the saddest thing about this film is that even though it presents to us 3 different tracks for happiness, it never allows Princess Kaguya to ever really make that choice herself. That choice is basically forced upon her, because when she is on that cloud and then the servant on the moon gives her, puts the cloak around her shoulders, it is very reminiscent of another time earlier in the film where choice again was taken away from her when the emperor hugs her from behind and holds on. And in that moment he told her that no woman is ever unhappy when I do this. But she was so unhappy in that moment because it was not her choice. And similarly right now, when that servant puts the robe that makes her forget around her, it was never her choice. But the saddest thing is that it even though it was not, she would have to live with it, because her features go blank, she remembers nothing, and that, I feel, is one of the saddest things that happens in this film. The Tale of Princess Kaguya is a very light and airy kind of film that you watch to maybe feel better after a long day. But it hits you out of nowhere towards the end that this happiness also comes with a very, very expansive kind of grief. It is a sadness that just sneaks up on you and just swamps you entirely. And I think that in and of itself, what this film makes you feel, when you hear those words, the words of that song again towards the end, and then you just unconsciously start crying. That was me. I unconsciously started crying for no reason I could figure out upon hearing that song towards the end, because it just hit me. The sadness hit me. And I think that what that is, I feel, is exactly what this film is trying to tell us, and in every part of our lives, we should be trying to search for what makes us happy, and we shouldn't be trying to be possessed by other people, to objectify ourselves, or to even make other people happy, because what matters is our own emotions and our own sense of humanity. Yes, so that is The Tale of Princess Kaguya. Thank you very much for listening to me ramble about this beautiful film. Keep watching, because we have a little more surprises coming up for you in the next few days. Thank you.